I just wanted to chime in and say, I've been in this conversation for a while. In 2020, I introduced two proposals called More Housing for More People. One was rent stabilization near transit, and one was allowing for what at the time was called missing middle housing near transit, within a half mile of metro, just the small scale duplex type. Much different from this proposal that was sent over from planning, but trying to get at, and I've had many conversations over the last years about both of these proposals. We got one done last year because 40% of our county rents. I grew up in this county renting until my 20s. 400,000 people. I think we just always need to remember that. That is their home. That is where they live. That's where they will continue to live, most of them. And we need to make sure that that's stable. Just like if you have a 30-year fixed mortgage, it won't go and become $200, $300, $400 more the next year. And we've done that. We made a compromise. We put a policy in a place, and that's now in place for those residents. We also know that, and as the father of four, a couple teenagers now, I'm keenly aware of this, that we don't have places for our kids to come back and live. Our seniors are struggling to stay here. We just had this conversation in the Planning, Housing, and Parks Committee yesterday about the ADUs and how many have been built and what are impediments to that. And there's been a few hundred over the last 4 years that have been built total. And so it's not, and we also talked about design for life and how do you give more grants and money to people who want to upgrade their homes and put a handlebar in or put a walkway so that people can stay. There are a lot of things we need to do to ensure that people at both ends of the spectrum and everyone in between can afford to live and stay in our great community. And I don't think anyone in this debate disagrees with that. The question is, what are the right things to do? We also know that in some parts of the county, this proposal would produce housing that's more expensive than the current housing. We know in other parts that might not be the case. So we need to look into that, right? We need to look into that. We also know, to my council member for a day's question, that there are environmental impacts. There's infrastructure impacts. We just had a briefing with WSSC. If your house was built before 1993, you have these small skinny pipes that are less than an inch. And if after that, you might have an inch or an inch and a half, and that impacts the water capacity, right? And there's a lot of things to this. And I would just say, having been in this discussion since 2020, that we should, the question remains, as long as we keep the goal in mind, and I really appreciated Councilmember Katz's point, what are we trying to achieve? What's the goal? How can we get there? We do need different types and sizes of housing to accommodate different types of people. But we also need infrastructure to be there. We also need to make sure if it's being built, we're holding people accountable. We're not just letting people build and go. So we have to make sure all of that is in place. So I do appreciate the hundreds, if not thousands, of residents who have written in to all of us collectively about this. This has been a very important debate. I appreciate the council president and this council for having those sessions, and my office in particular has received a ton of correspondence, and we've responded to all of it. It's important to have this robust debate and to figure out something that will actually solve the problems that we all want to solve. And just wanted to put that out there and really appreciate the update from council staff today. Thank you, Mr. President.